Guys, today I'm gonna show you how to explore Andong the easy way using the city tour bus. So Andong City Tour has tons of different routes available and you can do some of them as day trips, but I specifically went with this 1 night 2 day package option because it lets you hit up all the major attractions in Andong. This all-inclusive tour package covers your hotel, meals, the tour bus, and all entrance fees for just 155,000 won. Honestly, Andong's pretty spread out, so trying to find everything on your own would be a total hassle. That's why I went with this tour. We're meeting up with the tour guide at 11:25 a.m. at the Andong KTX station, and then we hop on the bus. So you can take the KTX from Seoul Station or Cheongnam Station. It takes about 2 hours to get to Andong. Oh, and here's a travel tip for you. There's a traveler's rest area right across from the Andong KTX station at the Tourist Information Center, and they've got free Wi-Fi too. Pretty handy, right? So depending on how many people are doing the tour that day, they either run a big bus or a smaller van. Today we didn't have that many people, so we're rolling in a van. First stop is Byeongsan Seowon. This place is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site where you can stamp your Korea travel passport. Byeongsan Seowon is a Confucian academy built to honor brilliant Confucian scholars from the Joseon dynasty. One particularly great scholar named Seowon really made his mark here. But it was way more than just a place for studying, you know? It was basically the spiritual backbone of Yangban society back in the Joseon era. They weren't just training future scholars here. They were shaping Korea's whole moral and philosophical values. The buildings at Byeongsan Seowon blend seamlessly with nature, and the location overlooking the Nakdong River is absolutely incredible. When you look at how everything's laid out, you can really see the perfect aesthetic of Joseon-era architecture. The way the columns are arranged, the curves of the eaves, the design of the wooden floors, it all embodies the essence of East Asian architecture. For lunch, we had a gangodung salted mackerel set meal. And let me tell you, the restaurant near Hahoe Village is super famous. So here's the story behind gangodung. Way back before refrigerators existed, people would salt fresh mackerel to make it last longer. It's basically a dish born from our ancestors' wisdom, right? It keeps that fresh mackerel flavor while letting you store it for ages. This cooking method's been passed down for centuries, especially here in the Andong area where they've always used mackerel caught from the Nakdong River and nearby waters. After lunch, we had some free time to walk around before meeting back up with the guide. Next up is the Hahoe World Mask Museum. This place is way more than just your average museum. It's like a window into the diversity of world cultures. They've got traditional masks from all over, Africa, Asia, Europe, you name it. Masks are actually a universal form of human cultural expression, but each culture brings its own unique flair to them. Korean masks are especially awesome at capturing different human emotions and social classes. Going through this museum, you get to understand your own culture way better, while also discovering these cool connections with other cultures. After we're done at the museum, we get to watch the Hahoe Persingo Tanore performance, which is a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. I actually saw this like 13 years ago, and back then the hall wasn't nearly as nice as it is now. These days they've got air conditioning, so you can watch the performance comfortably no matter how hot it is outside. This isn't just entertainment, it's spiritual heritage that's been handed down for centuries. The Hahoe Byeolsin Talnori started in the Joseon dynasty as folk art that satirized and criticized Yangban society, but it also captured the everyday lives and emotions of regular people. Every single movement those masked dancers make comes from years of rigorous training, and the music, dance, and acting all work together perfectly.
아무 때나 오줌을 싸제키는 저놈을 때려잡아가지고 서거기 잔치 한번 해봅시다.
Now we are arriving at Hahoe Village. This is another place where you can stamp your koreatravel passport, and it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Hahoe Village isn't just some tourist spot. It's basically a living museum of Joseon Yangban society. For about 500 years, the same clan has lived here, and it's preserved Korean traditional village structure and lifestyle better than anywhere else. The way the thatched roof and tiled roof houses are arranged, the maze-like narrow alleyways, the centuries-old trees at the village entrance, it all tells the story of history. What really makes this place special is that people actually live here. The main families that built Hahoe Village were the Bongjeong Yu clan and the Andong clan, and they were major players in politics, culture, and education throughout the Joseon dynasty. In the main residences of each family, You'll find documents and artifacts that have been collected over hundreds of years, and there are monuments all over the village honoring their accomplishments. Here's a cool piece of trivia about Hahoe's international status. In 1999, Queen Elizabeth II of England visited Hahoe Village. She was genuinely impressed by the historical value and beauty of the place, and that really showed that Hahoe is recognized worldwide as an important cultural heritage site. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Tourism has kind of exploded here, and it's starting to mess with the residents' privacy and the traditional quiet vibe of the village. To help with that, the government gives the original residents 1 million won each during major holidays like Lunar New Year and Chuseok to keep traditions alive while making sure people can actually maintain their quality of life. Hahoe Village has this geomantic feature called Byeongsan, which basically means the mountains are at your back and water's in front. In feng shui, that's considered the ideal spot. There's actually a mountain range behind the village, and the Nakdong River flows in front. That back mountain protects you from the cold north wind in winter, and the river in front cools things down in summer. So our ancestors really understood nature and designed the village accordingly. That's the whole philosophy behind East Asian architecture and urban planning. Now we're heading to Buyongdae. You know, back in the day, people would take a boat from Hahoe Village to get to Buyongdae, but there's not much water in the river anymore and obviously no boats. So now you gotta go around and hike up the mountain instead. Byeongdae isn't just some lookout point. It's this really important space that holds the history and spirit of Hahoe Village. It's a pavilion that Yangban built back in the Joseon era specifically for appreciating nature and discussing scholarly stuff. It was a place where people would look down at the village, reflect on their lives, and share knowledge with their students. The name Buyongdae itself is pretty deep. Buyong is another word for lotus flower, and apparently the shape of the village from above looks like a lotus flower, so that's where the name comes from. When you look down from Buyongdae, you see the whole lotus-shaped Hahoe village in one view. The way the village follows the Nakdong River's flow creates these natural curves that form this lotus shape. Buyongdae sits on a cliff that drops about 64 meters straight down to the river below. It's like nature itself created the perfect viewing platform. Those cliff rocks were carved out over millions of years by water erosion, and the view from up there is seriously life-changing. We wrapped up the evening with Andong Dak, and you can find restaurants serving this dish pretty much anywhere in the city. It's chicken that you steam in a pot with various seasonings. The exact origins aren't really clear. Nobody knows for sure when it actually started, but it became really popular from the 1970s onward. What's great about Andong Dak is how the spice from the gochujang, the deep flavor from the soy sauce, and all the different vegetables come together to create this addictive taste. It's definitely a must-try when you visit Andong. We started the second day with Hwangtae Haejangguk, which is this classic Korean hangover soup right near the hotel. Haejangguk is the kind of meal that washes away all the fatigue and hangover from the night before. Hwangtae is dried pollock, and when you dry it like that, the protein condenses and you get this deep, complex flavor. The clear broth mixed with the pollock's mild and savory taste is just perfect, and it fills you up and gives you a new sense of energy. After breakfast, we caught the city tour bus at the old Andong station. Today we had more people, so we were in a slightly bigger bus than yesterday. Our first stop was the Andong Soju Museum. Andong Soju is basically the root of Korean soju culture and something we're super proud of. What makes Andong Soju special is that it's 100% distilled spirits. No mixing with water or other stuff like a lot of other sojus do. So that's why people say you don't get a headache the next day. At the museum, you can learn all about the history of Andong Soju and how it's made. They've got displays showing all the different grains used, the fermentation process, the distillation techniques, everything. And the best part, at the end, there's a tasting corner where you can actually try some Andong Soju. You definitely don't want to miss that. Next, we're heading to Manhyujeong. This pavilion got pretty famous because it was the filming location for the drama Mr. Sunshine. After being featured in several dramas and movies, Manhyujeong became known to a lot of modern audiences, which brought even more visitors to the place. But here's the tragic part. Manhyujeong actually suffered serious damage from a massive wildfire in early March 2025. It was a really devastating event. Not only did the surrounding forest burn down, but the local residents got hit hard too. Everyone had to evacuate, and they all had to rebuild their homes. It must have been incredibly tough for them. Thankfully, after the fire, restoration work brought Manhyujeong back, and it reopened for visitors. The Manhyujeong is called Mukyeri, which is written with the character for silence and the character for valley. Walking through this valley, you'll really understand just how profound that meaning of silence is. Manhyujeong isn't just a building, it's a space filled with life philosophy. The name itself means a place to rest in your later years, and that's not just about physical rest. There's some deep thinking about how to spend the second half of your life. The person who built Manhyujeong was seriously impressive. Back in the Joseon era, the average lifespan was around the mid-40s, but this guy passed the government civil service exam after he turned 50 and lived to be 87. That's an incredible life journey, right? He maintained a life of integrity and honesty throughout all those years, and his story must have inspired a lot of people. Manhyujeong is classified as a yongsa, which means it's a pavilion with actual living quarters inside. That's different from other structures like jeon or gak that don't have spaces for people to live in. For lunch, we had hot jesabap, the final must-try food when you visit Andong. Hot jesabap has a really interesting story behind it. Yangban scholars studying at Confucian academies got so hungry one day that they asked each other to bring whatever food they had from home and shared it together. They weren't doing an actual ancestral ritual, but they ate like they were. It's an interesting idea, really. When you eat hot jesabap, you get seasoned vegetables, meat, and egg, all mixed together in one bowl. All those different ingredients come together to create this unique flavor. One tip though, when you eat this bibimbap, mix it with soy sauce instead of gochujang, which is different from regular bibimbap. During lunch and free time, I visited this place called Woryeong Bridge. It's actually the longest wooden bridge in Korea. This isn't just some bridge. It's a masterpiece of Korean architecture. The fact that our ancestors could build such a long bridge using only wood shows just how advanced their building techniques were. Every pillar and beam at Woryeong Bridge was calculated and designed with precision. And even after hundreds of years, it still holds strong. It's especially famous for its night scenery. When the sun goes down and the bridge lights up, the reflection on the Nakdong River water is just magical. If you catch it on an evening with moonlight, it's even more stunning. After grabbing lunch at the restaurant, I could have crossed the bridge right next to it and visited the Andong City Museum, but we didn't have enough time to go inside. Now we're hopping back on the bus, heading to Andong Dam. Andong Dam was completed in 1976 and was Korea's first multipurpose dam. It's not just a hydroelectric facility, it's been a key piece of infrastructure driving economic development in the Nakdong River basin. The view from on top of the dam is really beautiful too. Here's something crazy. They only release water from Andong Dam like once every 20 years. When word gets out that they are gonna do it, apparently the whole city's like, forget work, let's go watch the dam release water. Pretty funny, right? Our final stop is Bongjeong Temple. This is another place where you can stamp your Korea travel passport, and it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Bongjeong Temple houses Korea's oldest wooden building, constructed in the 12th year of King Munmu of Sila's reign. Talk about ancient history, right? The fact that this building has kept its form for over 1,300 years is basically a miracle. The name Bongjeong is actually pretty poetic. It means this is the place where flowers carried by the wind came to rest. It's not just a name. It captures the spirit of the building itself. The main hall, called Gyeongnakjeon, is designated as a national treasure. In Buddhism, pagodas symbolize the Buddha, and though we can't see inside them, there are sacred scriptures stored within. Bongjeong Temple was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site not just because of the Gyeongnakjeon, but in 2018 it was designated along with 6 other temples under the name Sansa Buddhist Mountain Temples of Korea, which shows how important Korean mountain temple culture is to the world. What really makes Bongjeong special is that even during tragic historical events like the Imjin War and the Korean War, it suffered relatively less damage, so it still has a bunch of valuable cultural treasures from the Goryeo and early Joseon periods. That's what makes it so unique. The main Buddha Hall is also designated as a national treasure, and it's the only one with a wooden platform at the front, which is pretty extraordinary. If you go a little deeper into the temple grounds, you'll find Byeongsan Hermitage. This is like the last place where someone studies before officially becoming a monk. It's a sacred space where practitioners do serious meditation. Byeongsan Hermitage is actually ranked as one of Korea's top 10 gardens. The garden beauty is seriously incredible. The flowers blooming in the Hermitage's garden, the flow of water, everything is meticulously designed following Buddhist aesthetics. Check out that twisted pine tree. It's like the symbol of Byeongsan Hermitage. There's this legend that if you walk around it 3 times, you'll make lots of money and good fortune will come to you. Inside this small Bongjeong Temple complex, you've got buildings from both the Goryeo and Joseon periods all in one place. Seriously, you can see every style of Korean architecture in this single temple. It's like 1,300 years of history is compressed into one space. Bongjeong Temple is ultimately living proof of just how deep and beautiful our nation's spirit and culture really is.